The Luminaria ceremony is the chance we have to come together and remember those we've lost. Remember why we're here tonight at the American Cancer Society's Relay for Life of Tacoma. Tonight, I would really invite you to embrace this ceremony and the time that we're here. Keep the sounds low, keep things quiet. Throughout the ceremony and on the laps that follow, I invite you to stay quiet, to give yourself or those around you the chance to really grieve and feel and do what they need to do and be able to have a chance to heal. It's time for us to reflect on how this disease has touched us personally, and it's a time to look back with quiet reflection. No matter what our experience with cancer has been, we all share the hope that one day we will live in a world where our children and their children will never know the suffering of cancer or endure the staggering feelings of sadness and loss that cancer brings. 30 years ago, a man had a vision. His vision was of a world free from this very pain and suffering we speak of. Little did this man know that the track he ran in darkness would soon transform to a field of brilliant luminaria, each one representing a name, a face, a smile, and a treasured memory. And as each year passed, more people took to the track, and the flickering light beckoned this man and those who joined his journey. And in that time, that one man's vision became a reality. Thank you for being here tonight and your belief that we have the power to change the world. The Luminaria ceremony is a time for us to reflect on the stories of our loved ones, ours or our loved ones' journeys with cancer. Some candles are lit tonight in honor of those who are still with us, and some are lit in memory of those who have passed on from this disease. Every candle has a story of courage and hope. I'd like you to now, please join me as we hear from one of our fellow relayers, Liz Jones, who will be sharing with you her family's cancer story.
Hi, and good evening. My name is Liz Jones, and I'm honored to share with you tonight my superhero hubby Scott, my own Captain America's fight against Mr. Cancer. We were your typical American family. Scott was the healthiest person I had ever met until we heard the words, "You have tongue cancer." Head and neck cancer is not super common. Many people think the only way to get it is to smoke or chew. And I'm here to tell you that that is not true. Scott never did either of those things, but yet he still got cancer. When Scott heard those 3 horrible, life-changing words, "You have cancer," he took a deep breath and said, "Well, that's a bump in the road, but it's okay, it's not a big deal. I'll beat this, and we will go on with our lives." That day started the journey of fighting cancer for the next 3 years. He went through the normal treatments like most do. He started his journey at Tacoma General Hospital with amazing doctors and staff. Let me pause now to recognize all of those here who work in the medical field, from the doctors to researchers and lab techs to RNs, CNNs, volunteers, nutritional staff, and many, many more. I cannot tell you how much it meant to me and my family and all those fighting to have the love and support of all of you while we fought Mr. Cancer. You made the unbearable bearable. Thank you for all the sacrifices you have made to dedicate your lives of helping others, families like ours, care for our loved ones in our time of need. I still remember Scott's first radiation treatment like it was yesterday. Radiation treatments are so tough. They made him wear this special face shield. He was so brave wearing it, even though it was uncomfortable and so restrictive. I still have it at home because it's a piece of him. His radiation burns were so bad after the first treatment, red and blistful and very, very painful. It was difficult to see your loved one in this state. Scott was so sensitive to the treatments, he had burns the entire time. His first chemo was okay, but then as chemo goes, it got really hard. The nausea, the weight loss, the fatigue. But no matter what, like most of our cancer patient heroes, Scott kept smiling and being strong for us. We kept thinking he was beating it. Oh. I know many of you know how it feels to hope that you will hear the words, "You are cancer-free," only to find out that the cancer is still there. I understand how it feels to have the hope taken away from you. That is one of the reasons why we gather to relay, though, is because it brings us hope. Every person here is a living, breathing example of hope to each other, whether it's because you're facing cancer, caring for someone who's fighting cancer, or supporting those whose life has been touched by cancer. That is why it is important to stop during the ceremony and remember why we are here. To remember those we have lost to cancer and to inspire hope in those who may have lost hope. Back to Scott's story. None of the treatments work. His cancer was so sneaky. It hid in his nerves. We finally ended up at Swedish Hospital where we met Dr. Kim, who was honest with us and told us the form of cancer Scott had was very aggressive and rare, but that we would fight until he was cancer-free. Scott went through some major surgeries. His last one, he had to have his tongue removed and reconstructive surgery. I will never forget the day that Dr. Kim told us he wouldn't be able to speak normally, if at all. No matter what cancer and the doctors threw his way, Scott always smiled. Scott was a huge Avengers fan, and his favorite was Captain America. He truly believed he was Captain America. He went to every treatment and surgery armed with his Cappy Bear. At one point, things got really hard and emotional for Scott, but he put that cute little smile on his face, and he said, "It's okay. I might not ever be able to speak again, but I'll still be here with my girls." The day Scott was diagnosed, all of our lives changed. As a family, we became caregivers and his biggest cheerleaders in his fight against cancer. When he was diagnosed, our lives were so busy. I ran our own business, and I had some health issues of my own. But I learned how to have the strength and courage to help him fight no matter what was thrown our way. I learned how to take care of him physically and help him with treatments and his care. Being a caregiver is a tough job, emotionally and physically. You are the person who has to be strong when your person can't be. As caregivers, we usually put ourselves on the back burner to be there for the ones we love. To every caregiver here, every one of you who has stood by one of your loved ones during their battle, thank you. I repeat, to every caregiver here, every one of you who has stood by and held your loved one during their battle, I thank you. Thank you for being an ear on good days and bad, for helping with their meds, losing sleep, texts, phone calls, meals, and all the other countless things cancer patients face. Even those of you who have been a friend to a person whose loved one has cancer, you are caregivers too, just by being here to support us, even though your life might not have been directly affected by cancer. adds to the hope and the power of Relay, and we thank you. Going through his battle gave us all a very strong bond. We learned how to truly enjoy life and each other and our girls. We learned how precious life is and never to take a minute for granted. Unfortunately, no matter what we tried, Mr. Cancer would not go away. It just wouldn't go away. We were told that there was nothing left to be done. Scott looked at the doctors with that smile on his face, and he said, well, that's a bigger bump than I thought, but now it's time to live my life until my journey is done. I remember clearly, he looked at me and he said, we need to take our trip to Hawaii. Before he couldn't travel anymore, he had always wanted to take his girls to Hawaii. I planned the trip, but he had some major complications. And the doctor said he couldn't go anymore. Cancer took that from us. Scott decided that he wanted to have a special party to spend time with his family and his friends, and to share a special dance with each of his girls because he knew he would not be here for their wedding days. So we planned a huge ball, and that night there was no more Cancer. There was just family and friends, and we honored and we loved on our superhero. You would never have known how sick Scott was that night. He danced and he danced and he danced some more. And he soaked up every minute of the love that we showered him with. His girls all got their dance with their daddy. We made so many special memories that evening, memories we will never, ever forget. Scott left us on November 10th, 2016, at home, snuggled in our bed, surrounded by his family. I was very blessed to share his journey home with him. I could tell that something was stopping him from letting go. We were all sitting on the bed talking to him when he squeezed my leg. He opened his eyes just for a second, and I realized what was going on. He didn't want our youngest daughter there. She was only 9 years old at the time. He didn't want her in the room when he left us because he knew how hard it would be on her. He didn't want that to be the last memory of her daddy. I told her it was time for a little break. Scott relaxed, and he took his last breath within just a few minutes of her leaving. He wanted to spare his peanut the pain of being in the room. When people leave us due to cancer, many people use the term lost their battle to cancer. I disagree so much. Scott won his battle with cancer on November 10th, 2016. Scott never let cancer take away his hope and his spirit. Scott was selfless to the very end. Scott fought cancer with grace and dignity and a smile on his face the entire time. Scott showed me and so many others what a true superhero is, and that no matter what life throws at you, stand tall and smile because it's not permanent. It is just a bump in the road. Until we meet again, Scott will always be watching over me and our girls, cheering us on as we continue to live our lives the way he taught us to. Scott is now without any pain, and he is soaring on eagle's wings, cancer-free. Thank you for letting me share my superhero with you.